All right, to our breaking news now on Pope Francis, head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City-State, has died aged 88. Pope Francis was elected in 2013, marking a new era for the Catholic Church as its first leader from the Western Hemisphere, the first from South America and the first from the Jesuit order.
165 popes had come before him, but his was a papacy of firsts. The first pope from the Americas, the first pope from the Southern Hemisphere, the first Jesuit in the role. Born in Buenos Aires in 1936, Jorge Mario Bergoglio was the son of Italian migrants who escaped fascist Italy. His father worked on the railways. He was a born fighter. When he was 21, an infection meant part of his lung had to be removed. Jorge graduated as a chemical technician. His first jobs were as a janitor and a bar bouncer, before choosing the path to the priesthood. He was ordained in 1969. He became Archbishop of Buenos Aires. And in 2001, he was made a cardinal by Pope John Paul II. He held several key administrative positions before, in 2013, at the age of 76, his fellow cardinals elected him leader of the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. Taking the name Francis, the patron saint of animals and helper of the poor.
Buonasera.
He set the tone early. On the night he was elected, he passed up a ride in the papal limousine and travelled on a bus back to his hotel, and chose to stay in a simple apartment, passing up the much larger official residence, saying, "I can't live here, I would die. I need people." Pope Francis shunned the lavish regalia of his predecessors and preferred the common touch. His mission was to transform the long-standing conservative image of the Catholic Church. He spoke out for society's most marginalised and called for urgent action on climate change. In 2016, he gave priests the power to forgive women who undergo abortions. He was hell-bent on rooting out corruption in the Vatican's finances and dealing with the horrific legacy of child sex abuse within the Church. And he took his message around the world. A strong advocate for interfaith discussions, he visited more than 60 countries. His travels documented in an award-winning production. Emeritus Benedict died. Francis presided over his funeral and said he'd seen him as a friend and a guide. Only weeks later, he gave the blessing for George Pell, even as it was revealed the cardinal he called his right-hand man in the Vatican was in private one of his fiercest critics. He suffered ill health much of his time in Rome. Back and knee issues often left him struggling. In 2021,
the Pope approved a stripped-down funeral for himself. Normally, a Pope's body would be displayed on a raised platform, but Francis instead said he wishes to lie in an open wooden coffin without too much pomp and pageantry.
Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on December 17, 1936, Jorge Bergoglio earned a master's degree in chemistry and philosophy and a doctorate in theology. After training in a Jesuit seminary, Bergoglio became an ordained Catholic priest in 1969.
Francis is the first Jesuit pope.
In 1998, Bergoglio was named Archbishop of Buenos Aires and became well known for traveling to city slums to work firsthand with the poor. 2013, at the age of 76, Bergoglio was named the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, becoming the first non-European and the first Jesuit priest to be named Pope. Bergoglio became the first Pope to take the name Francis, in honor of St. Francis of Assisi. On being named Pope, Francis abolished bonuses paid to Vatican employees upon the election of a new Pope, and named a group of 8 cardinals as advisors to bring reform to the Roman Catholic Church. Francis is the head of more than 1.2 billion Roman Catholics, and in 2014, he was named by Forbes magazine as the world's #1 greatest leader.
Francis celebrated and led the Easter Mass at the St. Peter's Basilica, but without any devotees of the Christian faith. Instead, the Mass was live-streamed for nearly about 1.3 billion people because of the deadly coronavirus pandemic. The holy event of Easter Mass, which attracts the Pope walked inside the empty St. Peter's Basilica, read the Gospel about Jesus' resurrection in both Greek and Latin, and prayed for the world that
sulla radice del male.
Last year, it was estimated that close to about 70,000 Christians from across the globe had crowded at the St. Peter's Basilica to listen to the Pope's message. That's a message to the city and to the world at large. However, with the coronavirus outbreak, people were not allowed to gather for this year's Easter celebrations. Since the Pope also prayed for doctors and nurses and frontline workers who are attending to the sick and are also enforcing containment measures. He also called on political leaders across the globe to work for the common good to fight the novel coronavirus infection.